My name is L.A. Goodman, and we are not here to have fun. So let me preface this by saying I grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm a little biased. I am loyal to that cast. I'm loyal to that show. I love that show. My parents let us stay up late and watch it during school nights, and it was always a highlight. I had such a crush on the entire cast, top to bottom. I loved them all. They were these beautiful people traveling space, making the universe a better place, saving people, saving species, saving worlds, and I idealized all of that. So let me say I go into reading this book with heart eyes, and I don't think Patrick Stewart could have done any wrong in writing it. So when I chose to read Making It So by Patrick Stewart, I went in it with my heart open for this man, because I've always thought he's brilliant. I think he's great in everything he does. Just listening to his voice makes me nostalgic, and I could not have asked for more from this book. I loved every bit of it. He takes us through his entire life in this book. He takes us from the time he's a young boy all the way into the present with Picard ending in season 3. And I loved hearing where he came from, the rough childhood. He grew up in poverty, his love for his mom, and the difficult relationship he had with his dad. It was so interesting to hear him talk about it, and to be honest about it, about how he felt about the tough relationship with his dad, and how it kind of molded him into the man he became, and how he tried not to emulate a lot of what his father did. I understand. He wanted to be his own person. He wanted to be a better person than his dad. And even at the end, he begrudgingly gave his dad credit, but they never had a real relationship. And I totally loved him opening up about that. He embraced his faults, regrets, failures, as well as his triumphs. He did not idealize anything. He wasn't, it was all hunky-dory and wonderful the whole time. And no, he has a lot of faults. He talks about how much time he devoted to his work, to the detriment of his own home life, like his failed marriages and his strained relationships with his children, and how that strain even remains to this day, because he worked so hard and he was so dedicated to his work that everything else went to the back burner, and he kind of just set everything else to the wayside. And while he says he does have some regrets about that, he doesn't think he would do anything differently, because he loves what he does. He loves his kids. He doesn't regret a lot. And I respect that. There go my dogs. We're fixing to get some barks. Oh, no, that was a false alarm. Dog mom. He knew he wanted to act from a young age, but amazingly enough, he didn't think it was possible, because he grew up in poverty. He thought, I don't think there's any way that I can make this dream a reality. Luckily, others saw his talent. They continued to offer him help and give him a helping hand to eventually see his dream come true. I thought it was hilarious that he worked as a journalist for a while, but he would pass off his work to other people at his workplace so that he could go make a play he was in. I was like, that's funny. And of course, eventually that job did not last, because he was not doing the work. His heart was not in it. But he had some beautiful stories about Vivien Leigh. He had such a crush on Vivien Leigh. Yes, the Gone with the Wind, Vivien Leigh. Now, it was later in her career that they were in the same acting troupe together, and he still saw himself as a nobody. So every kindness from her, every kind word and interaction, he recalls all of it so fondly. And being a fan of Vivian Leigh as well, I just ate all that up. I ate every story he had about that up. Let's see. I just think it's so interesting that he ever thought of himself as a nobody. But of course, I was introduced to him as Captain Jean-Luc Picard. He was the lead of a series, so I've never thought of him as a nobody. But he certainly did start from humble beginnings. I loved hearing his stories from the stage. All the famous people that would come see him while he still had this nobody syndrome, right? Like he thought he was not big enough for these huge people like Paul McCartney, Rod Stewart to come see him backstage, but it always thrilled him when they did, like, oh, okay, this is happening. I loved hearing his stories from The Next Generation and X-Men and Picard and his recent foray into comedy, which is shocking to me, but he's a real comedic genius these days. I loved hearing all his triumphs and failures and his love and relationships, and yeah, it was great. Let's see. I have to tell you about my favorite story from the series. So this has got spoilers in it. Spoilers. He was talking about his first season in Star Trek: The Next Generation. And the crew was still kind of getting to know each other. The cast was still kind of getting to know each other. And he was this brilliant stage actor from London, and, you know. So he thought himself kind of posh, right? And all these American actors he was surrounded by himself, they kept kind of joking on the set, and he was getting angrier and angrier and angrier because he really wanted The Next Generation to work. He wanted it to be successful. He wanted it to live up to the Star Trek name. So he tells this story about one day after the set, after they had gotten done filming. He asked the cast and crew to come join him on the bridge, and he gave this huge speech about work ethic, and being serious about what they're trying to do and how we all want this to succeed, and blah blah blah. And the cast slowly started kind of snickering. And he was like, why? Am I making a fool of myself? And then one of the cast said, oh, Patrick, we have to have fun sometimes. And he yells, "We are not here to have fun," and storms off the set. And he sits brooding in his trailer for a bit, like, oh my gosh, what did I do? We're in season 1 and I just did that. And finally, Jonathan Frakes' Brent Spiner came and got to him and said, hey, it's okay. It's okay. Everybody's fine, but you have to let people let their hair down. And then he says later in the seasons, he was the one cutting up more than anybody else. So he learned, these people taught him to calm down and still have fun doing what you're doing. It doesn't always have to be such a serious endeavor. Yes, you want to make great things, but you need to have fun making great things. You need to find enjoyment in it, even while you're making this great thing. And it was one of my favorite. He recalled it several times. We are not here to have fun during the book. And I laughed every time since he's told the story at the beginning. So it was kind of just this recalling it throughout the book. Anyway, I really think it was a great read. I highly recommend, if you are a fan of Patrick Stewart, listening to it on audio, because he reads it himself and he is such a great storyteller. It's divine listening to him tell these stories of his life and his experiences, and I fully recommend the audiobook, or pick it up however you want to pick it up. But I loved the audiobook. I loved hearing his voice. It gave me these warm, fuzzy feels, and I just highly recommend this book, Making It So by Patrick Stewart. We are not here to have fun.